Rather than engage with the substance, the community's objection to councillor travel allowances, the unhinged Cr Kemp turned on the petitioners themselves. In the chamber, she alleged the petition contained lies and misinformation, suggested the organiser was involved in a privacy breach, a claim so serious it had to be ruled out of order, demanded an investigation into how the petition was included in the council report. In effect, she framed ordinary citizens exercising their lawful rights as potential wrongdoers. This was not just a poor choice of words, it was a profound attack on democratic participation and on the integrity of council's own staff. In short, Kemp is either a complete idiot or has absolutely no idea of the proper processes of council, or both. The action she engaged in looked like a dumb and clueless attack dog. Kemp's unhinged and clueless attack on a legitimate petition was anti-democratic and self-serving. It wasted staff time, undermined trust, and sought to discredit citizens for daring to question councillor entitlements.
All right, so let's talk about local democracy. You know, it's supposed to be the one level of government where your voice really matters, where you can speak directly to the people in charge. But what happens when that whole system gets put to the test? We're going to look at this fascinating case study from Shoalhaven, where a totally normal citizen petition blew up into this huge controversy. And really, it put the whole idea of public participation on trial. And you know what? Let's actually start at the end. This quote you see here, that's the final word from the official review. It basically says there was no reason to exclude the submission. So everything was done by the book, which of course raises the big question, if the staff did nothing wrong, why on earth was there an investigation in the first place? And to figure that out, well, we gotta rewind the tape. So, the catalyst. This is where it all started. A petition meets a rant. The whole thing kicked off in a council meeting, starting as a standard democratic process before it escalated and triggered that official review. Let's break down exactly what went down. Okay, so here's what kicked it all off. You had a group of residents in Shoalhaven who put together a formal petition, and it was about councillor expenses, which they submitted during a public consultation period. I mean, this is textbook stuff, right? It's how you're supposed to participate. It's their democratic right, totally lawful, and a completely standard part of how local government works. And this is where things just go off the rails. On one side, you've got the citizens, just following the process, playing by the rules. But on the other side, the source describes the reaction from Councillor Denise Kemp as, well, a full-on rant. She's alleging lies and misinformation, suggesting a privacy breach, and then, get this, demanding an investigation, not into the petition, but into the council staff, who just did their job by including it on the agenda. A total clash. Okay, so with all these accusations flying around, we need to hit pause. Let's look at the rulebook. What does the law actually require in a situation like this? Because this isn't about opinions, it's about what's legally required. So first, let's just get the terminology straight. What is a public submission? It's not just a casual comment or an email, it's the official, formal way for the community to get involved in what the council decides. It's the recognized channel for you to have your say. And when it comes to the law, the Local Government Act is, well, it's about as clear as it gets. The council must, and that's the key word here, must consider any submission that comes in during that public period. They don't get to pick and choose. There's no wiggle room to reject something just because you don't like it. Doesn't matter if it's a petition. Doesn't matter if the content is, politically awkward. The law says it has to be considered, period. All right, so now that we know the rules, let's get back to the investigation, the reckoning. After all that drama, what did the official review actually find? And the verdict was just a slam dunk. A total confirmation that the process was followed perfectly. First, the petition was a valid submission. It was received correctly and legally had to be reported. Second, the staff did everything right. They followed every single legal and privacy procedure. Third, there was zero misconduct, absolutely no reason to exclude the petition. Which leads to the final point. No formal investigation was even needed because the staff were simply doing their jobs exactly as the law requires. The whole thing was built on nothing. So you might be thinking, okay, case closed. A local squabble got sorted out. But the fallout here and why this one local dispute really matters is much bigger than just one meeting. It brings up some really serious questions about the health of our democracy. See, the real danger, according to the source, is what's called a chilling effect. Think about it. When you see someone else speak up, follow the rules, and in return their character is attacked and public servants are unfairly investigated, are you going to be so quick to make a submission next time? Probably not. It sends a signal that challenging the people in power is suspect. It undermines the professional staff, and it basically weaponizes the council's own procedures to intimidate people instead of holding power to account. And this isn't just some abstract idea about democracy. The official review itself points out the very real, practical risks here. When you start ignoring public input, you risk making bad, uninformed decisions. You risk breaking the law. And you absolutely risk damaging the council's own reputation. It's just self-sabotage. So, what's the fix? How do you restore that trust? Well, the source argues that this really lands on the mayor's desk. The mayor needs to step up and publicly state, yes, the petition was valid, and yes, the staff acted correctly. Remind all the councillors that every submission has to be considered. And make it clear that while freedom of speech is vital, you can't misuse serious allegations just to shut down voices you don't agree with. It's about reestablishing the ground rules for healthy debate. You know, when you boil it all down, this whole story comes back to one simple but powerful question. When your community speaks up, should its leaders investigate the message or the messenger? Is their job to listen to what's being said or to try and find reasons to discredit the people saying it? That's something to think about, not just for Shoalhaven, but for any healthy democracy, anywhere.
The facts are now settled. The petition was valid, staff were right, and the accusations were baseless. The only question left is whether the mayor and the chamber will take the steps needed to repair the damage. Councillor White was up to her eyes in this attack as she defended her outrageous travel allowance. If they don't, the real risk is that Shoalhaven residents will conclude their voices are not welcome, and democracy at the local level will be poorer for it. There are some matters yet to be analysed, but this matter will be referred to the Ombudsman and OLG as an example of maladministration by the Mayor. Thank you for listening.